Hello, everyone, and welcome to the English Mastery Podcast, your ultimate show for leveling up in English. I'm Sonia, here with my amazing co-host, DS. Together, we're here to make English learning easy, fun, and confidence-boosting. So sit back, relax, and let's jump into today's episode filled with learning, laughter, and language growth.
Hey everyone, ready to unlock the secrets of sounding like a natural English speaker?
I think we've got some really cool stuff to share today.
Today we're going to dive into an English learning podcast episode. It's full of everyday phrases you hear native speakers using all the time.
You know those phrases that make you think, oh, that sounds so natural?
Exactly. We're talking about things like hit me up, wing it, even how to casually mention your bucket list in a conversation.
The kind of stuff that really boosts your fluency and makes you sound more comfortable.
So imagine you're eavesdropping on two friends, Emma and Liam. They're hanging out at a cafe. Emma has some exciting news.
She's booked tickets to Paris.
And listen to how she starts.
Guess what? It's such a classic way to build excitement. Like, you know something good is coming.
And Liam's reaction is perfect.
Always.
It's that universal sound of surprise, right?
Total surprise and excitement all rolled into one.
And then Emma mentioned something interesting. Taking Paris off her bucket list.
Ah, the bucket list. That list of things you want to do before,
Before kicking the bucket.
Exactly. It's such a common way to talk about our dreams and goals these days, isn't it?
Definitely. And Emma's about to make one of those dreams a reality. But pay attention to what Liam says next.
He tells her to hit him up if she needs any travel tips.
Hit me up. What does that even mean?
It just means contact me, but in a super casual way. Much more relaxed than saying, feel free to reach out.
Right. Way more friendly.
It's perfect for informal situations, like chatting with friends.
Okay, so now we jump to another conversation in the episode. This time, it's Zara and Mike who are planning to get together.
And Zara kicks things off with a phrase we hear all the time. It feels like ages since we last hung out.
Such a simple way to say it's been a while, but it's so warm and inviting, isn't it?
Yeah, it shows you genuinely miss the person.
And then they decide to keep things low-key for their get-together.
Low-key, meaning?
Relaxed, casual, the opposite of like a fancy, over-the-top event.
Exactly. Think like a chilled dinner at home instead of a big party.
Love it. And then Mike throws in a phrase that really captures that spontaneous spirit. We can just wing it.
Winning it. No strict plans. Just going with the flow.
Now, we've heard these phrases in action, but let's really dissect them one by one. The episode helpfully has a dedicated vocabulary section.
Yeah, it's super useful. It gives clear definitions and examples.
So first up, bucket list.
Defined as a list of experiences or goals someone wants to accomplish in their lifetime.
The example they give is, visiting Paris has always been on my bucket list. Easy peasy.
Absolutely. Next, we have hit me up. Remember that casual way to say contact me.
Their example is, hit me up if you need help with your homework.
Perfect for students.
Yeah.
Now for whirlwind.
This one means something that happens quickly and is full of activity or emotion.
Like their example, my last week was a total whirlwind with all the deadlines. We've all been there.
I know I have. Then we have low-key, which we just talked about. Relaxed, not flashy or intense.
I'd prefer a low-key dinner instead of a big party. A classic example.
And who could forget wing it? To do something spontaneously without planning.
The episode's example is, I forgot my notes, so I'll just have to wing it during the presentation. Yikes. Talk about pressure.
Oh yeah, that's stressful. Okay, and finally, tick off. To mark something as complete on a list.
I finally ticked off skydiving from my bucket list. To be that brave.
All right, feeling good. We've heard the phrases in context A and D. We've broken down their meanings.
But the episode's got even more to offer. It's got a Q&A section to test your understanding.
I love this part. It's interactive.
Okay, first question. What city did Emma book a trip to? Think about it.
And the answer is Paris.
Question 2. Who is Emma traveling with?
The answer is her sister.
Question 3. What does Liam mean when he says, hit me up?
He's offering Emma travel tips.
Question 4. How did Zara suggest they keep their plans for the weekend?
Low-key. A nice, relaxed dinner.
And question 5. What phrase did Mike use to suggest they'd decide everything later?
Wing it. No plans, just going with the flow.
What's cool about this Q&A is that it shows how understanding a conversation and answering questions about it go together.
Totally. It's all about active listening, which is so important for learning a language. Now, the episode has one last trick up its sleeve. A technique called shadowing.
Shadowing is basically mimicking a native speaker. You try to copy their pronunciation and intonation.
It's like having a personal pronunciation coach right there with you.
Okay, so the episode gives you some sentences to practice with. First up is Emma's big announcement. Hey, Liam, guess what? I finally booked my tickets to Paris. Repeat that out loud, focusing on your pronunciation.
You got feel.
Don't worry if you don't nail it perfectly on the first try. Just get comfortable with the sounds and the rhythm.
Next, we have Liam's enthusiastic response. No way! That's amazing! When are you going? Try to capture that excited tone.
Okay, now for Emma's follow-up. Next month. I figured it was time to tick it off my bucket list. Pay attention to how she stresses certain words.
Now, let's shift to Zara's line. Hey, Mike, it feels like ages since we last hung out. Imagine you're saying this to a friend you haven't seen in a while.
Last one. Mike's laid-back reply. I know, right? Life's been a bit of a whirlwind lately. Notice how his voice goes up at the end, almost like a question.
Awesome job.
Ah.
You've just practiced shadowing sentences from a real English conversation.
And that's it for part 1 of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground.
We've gone from hearing phrases in action to understanding their meanings to practicing them ourselves.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Ready for more everyday English awesomeness?
I'm ready, especially for more of that shadowing practice. It's so effective for getting the pronunciation just right.
Absolutely. It's like you're training your ears and your mouth at the same time. Okay, let's revisit that phrase about winging it. Remember the example?
I think it was, I forgot my notes, so I'll just have to wing it during the presentation.
Yeah.
Talk about thinking on your feet.
Right. Pure improvisation. Go ahead and repeat it. Try to capture that feeling of spontaneity.
Like you're just going with the flow, no worries.
Now let's try a sentence about achieving a lifelong goal. I finally picked off skydiving from my bucket list.
Wow, what a rush that must be. Imagine the feeling of accomplishment as you say it out loud.
I can almost feel the adrenaline. It's amazing how shadowing helps you connect with the emotions behind the words, too.
Okay, let's take a step back for a second. We've covered a lot of ground already in this deep dive.
We started with real conversations, pulled out those key phrases, and then dove into their meanings. We even got to test ourselves with the Q&A.
And of course, we've been practicing our pronunciation with shadowing. It's been quite the journey.
It has. But what's the biggest takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I want them to realize that everyday English is a powerful tool for connecting with people.
It's about going beyond textbook English and really understanding how people use language naturally.
Imagine yourself walking into any conversation, feeling confident and at ease. You pick up on those subtle cues, you get the jokes, you understand the nuances.
Yeah, it's like you've cracked the code to fluent communication.
Exactly. You're not just speaking English, you're experiencing it, you're living it.
Now, before we move on to the next part, let's think about this for a second. All these informal phrases we've been discussing, what does this tell us about how English is changing?
That's a good question. It seems like informality is becoming more and more accepted, even expected in some situations.
Right. Language is constantly evolving, and everyday English, with all its slang and idioms, reflects how we communicate today.
It's like this secret language that helps us connect on a deeper level.
It creates that sense of belonging, like you're in the know, and it adds a touch of humor and personality to our conversations.
I think it's important to remember that mastering everyday English isn't just about sounding cool or trendy.
Yeah, it's about much more than that.
It's about opening doors to new experiences, making genuine connections, and understanding the culture in a more profound way.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up part 2 of this deep dive, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep listening, keep practicing, and keep pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn and grow.
And remember, the best way to master everyday English is to have fun with it. Join us for part 3, where we'll delve even deeper into the nuances of casual conversation.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into everyday English. I hope you're feeling pumped to really level up your conversational skills.
I know I am. We've covered so much ground already, from those awesome everyday phrases to shadowing practice and everything in between.
It's been an incredible journey exploring how these seemingly small things can make a huge difference in how natural and confident you sound in English.
It's like we've been unlocking these little secrets to fluent communication.
Exactly. Remember those phrases we talk about, hit me up, wing it, bucket list? They're not just words, they're like keys to a whole new level of understanding.
They help you connect with native speakers on a deeper level, pick up on those subtle cultural cues, and just feel more comfortable in everyday conversations.
It's about going beyond the textbook and really experiencing English as it's spoken in the real world.
Absolutely. So what's the big takeaway you want our listeners to remember from this deep dive?
Well, for me, it's the realization that mastering everyday English is about so much more than just memorizing words and grammar rules.
It's about embracing the culture, the humor, the way people actually use language to connect with each other.
Imagine yourself walking into any situation feeling totally at ease, ready to crack a joke, share a story, or just chat with anyone about anything.
That's the power of everyday English. It helps you build real, genuine connections with people.
And it opens up a whole world of new experiences and opportunities.
But it's important to remember that it's not about being perfect.
Oh yeah, definitely not about perfection.
It's about embracing the journey, having fun with it, and not being afraid to make mistakes along the way.
I think that's such a crucial point. Mistakes are part of the learning process. In fact, they're often the best way to learn.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we challenge you to take everything you've learned and put it into practice.
Don't be shy. Start small. Try using one new phrase today. Pay attention to how native speakers around you are using language.
And most importantly, have fun with it. Experiment, play around with the language, and enjoy the process.
Because at the end of the day, language learning is all about connection, sharing, and experiencing the world in a more meaningful way.
And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a few hidden gems of everyday English that we didn't cover in this deep dive.
That's the beauty of language. It's always evolving. There's always something new to learn. So keep exploring, keep practicing, and keep those conversations flowing.
And until next time, happy language learning, everyone.